So you've got your life going on here, and then you've got all the lives of your patients that you're intimately involved in. Um, you come home at night, wife, kids, dog. What is what has having six children taught you about fatherhood?
Well, I'm still a work in progress, still learning a lot. But one thing I realized from training in my doctorate and learning how to be a professional psychologist is how to let go of the things that are not my responsibility to hold on to. And I hope that I'm learning little by little how to do that with my kids as well. I pour my heart and soul into my kids, into my marriage, into, those relationships as the most important in my life. And yet, at the same time, at the end of the day, I can't be responsible ultimately for the decisions that they make. So, in some small way, there's a connection there. I think it's a lot harder lesson to learn with family life. But as I continue along, realizing that ultimately God is the one who's responsible for this mess. And whatever we do to make the mess worse, he's definitely more capable than we are of cleaning it up. So, just like with my patients, with my family, with my marriage, with everything else, I have to just put it back in his hands at the end of the day.
So, what advice would you have for someone who's about to become a father for the first time?
Oof. Fatherhood for the first time is get on your knees. I think the most important lesson I've learned, and I'm learning still again, is to be a son first, and to understand the fatherhood of God is what gives direction to everything about our life. And the more that I learn, the more that I grow in my prayer life and my spirituality and my work and my family, it all comes back down to being children. And I just keep thinking this over and over again. We're just children. We're just kids. We don't have any idea what we're actually doing. It's such a load of baloney that we think we're in control of this or we understand this. At the end of the day, we don't really know what we're doing. And if we can climb up into the Father's lap and give it all to Him at the end and let Him take care of it, whatever part He wants to share with us in leading and fathering and building or controlling, it's going to be blessed because it's only in context with what He actually gives us.
So, juxtaposed to that, what mistake do you see parents making all the
Oh,
time?
I forget what I just said. And I pretend I fall into the illusion that I'm in control. And, it's like if the kids aren't following these rules, if dinner time isn't totally orderly and peaceful, if XYZ doesn't go as planned, I act as if my plan's not happening. I'm not in control, so I need to try to use anger or frustration or impatience to wrestle back control. And that's when I lose it. That's when whatever I built up is dissipated. It's like that's when it's gone. And that's what needs to be repented of and reclaimed.
When you get into that space, are you aware you're in that space? Do you catch yourself in that space?
Yeah, I've grown in that a lot. A lot of the work that I do professionally, thank God, is very deeply personal. And so it's one of the benefits of what I get to do, walking this walk with so many people. I learn so much for myself. And so I do benefit from that. And I think I've grown a lot in that self awareness. So I can't say that it means that I don't do it anymore or don't have those voices or don't have those parts of me, but I have awareness of those parts in a way that I never did before. And that does give me some sense of being able to step back from it.
Do you think that parents are more aware today of how their parenting impacts their children forever than they were 20 years ago, 50 years ago?
I'd like to say yes, but unfortunately, I think the content has just shifted. I don't think awareness has grown. I think we look back on 50 years ago and say, how did parents not realize that they were doing this to their kids? but I see the same exact dynamics happening today. And I think parents 50 years ago, I can only assume, were just as well intentioned as parents today are. But what we understand content wise changes, but the dynamics of that interior life, of inner awareness, of being there to be a gift for others, those are the eternal truths that we all have to grow in, probably since the beginning of time, probably till the end of time. So I don't think that's really changed.
Do you think, well, what's something that parents are doing today that others will look back 50 years from now and say, I can't believe parents were doing that 50 years ago?
Technology. I think parents have swung the pendulum too far, whereas before, maybe 50 years ago, there's too much strict harshness. And now I hear parents tell me all the time, I can never take away Johnny's cell phone, iPad, tablet, whatever. Like, of course I couldn't do that. Then they'll never be able to communicate with their friends. They'll never this, they'll never that. They'll hate me forever. Da da da. Like, that's ridiculous. I think once we understand the brain neurology, once we understand the addictions, once we understand the way that technology is warping our understanding of ourselves, of God, of relationship, that's going to be something that 50 years from now, people will look back and say, I can't believe those parents from the 2000s, that they let their kids do all that. And so, I think we're going to have to answer for that.